Pigeons aren't real.
Of course they're not. They're all Alpharius.
I am Alpharius.
Oh, cool. Beauty. And what? And g'day and welcome back to the channel. This is Pub for Heretics. You are joined by Blake and
Alpharius.
And Alpharius.
Fine, we're all Alpharius. We're joined by
Corbin.
James.
I was hoping somebody would say Alpharius instead.
And John.
Named
John Warhammer himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously today we are picking up from last episode where we did the Lion story background in 30k. And obviously, James, what did you feel about that reveal at the end with Luther?
Oh, it was very delicious. It was a good
Delicious.
twist.
Did you see that?
I had
Delicious.
a feeling like the way the users were talk, like you were hyping him up. I had a feeling that he was gonna be bad in the end. Like, oh yeah, there's a twist coming with this dude.
He's definitely holding some kryptonite behind his back.
Yes,
Yeah, that's actually not a bad comparison either.
he is
But,
very
but
Lex.
Because they're both bald, aren't they?
no, he's got a full head of hair.
Oh, does he?
Imagine,
Well, so did Lex Luthor before he got.
Originally, yeah.
imagine Boromir, or Viggo,
yeah.
or Aragorn like level.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's obviously get straight into it. So obviously we know Luther is the best mate to the Lion, but let's go back a little bit and let's understand. But first things first, like and subscribe to the channel. Please help that comment, get the algorithm back up, get us out of small channel hell. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we've at the time of recording, we're over 500 subscribers.
Closer
Which
to
is-
600.
It is close to 600, which is crazy to think that we've only been doing this. Actually, the day of recording is our 1 year of creating the channel.
Yeah.
So, like, to be at 600.
Didn't post straight away, but this is a 1 year of creating the channel.
Yeah, it took a few months for us to actually get together and record, but yeah,
Like
it's
most
still.
channels, you
Yeah,
know, there's
because
rocky
we don't do
beginnings.
this for a job, and we're not professionals. We had to figure this out as we were going
No,
along.
wish
we
we
all
could do
have
this
our
as a
own
job.
lives and families.
Children, new babies.
Oh,
Fur babies.
But yeah, like for 1 year. You bloody, what do they call it?
for
Furry.
parents.
You furry.
I mean, you got a baby, but I got a dog. It's the same thing.
It is not the same
It is
thing.
not
and you
the
will
same
learn
thing.
that
No,
one
that is
day.
it. In the mortal words of Bill Burr, it's worse actually because your kid bites somebody, he gets a timeout. My baby bites somebody, he gets put down.
We're not having this conversation.
I love just seeing you get arc up about it though.
Yeah, no, fur parents trigger me a little.
Oh, when you start taking pictures of it and then putting it in your Christmas card, I can't stand that shit.
Oh, yeah, all of
Anyway.
it. All of it.
So to have 600 within a year is pretty crazy.
600 babies.
Well, all
Alright,
the
Mormons.
That's
Settle
some gene
down.
stealer shit.
yeah. So thank
But
you.
no, we appreciate you all for your support. Please let us know in the comments if we can do anything better or what you want to see more of. Please let us know.
We are going to look at doing. We've just been approved. We could do like membership stuff. So we're like spitballing about what we can do for
What
like
we can
members.
offer you, fans, if you want to do membership, like let us know what you want.
Yeah.
Feet pics are optional, but can be negotiable.
No one wants to see my feet.
The feet pics, in case you pay to opt out.
Yeah.
We will send you feet pics if you don't pay.
Until you opt out.
No, but it's amazing getting to this point because honestly, we just started because we all enjoyed talking about it. Blake and I would spend hours chatting about it. We're like, hey, we should record ourselves doing this. And then James is like, I don't know anything about Warhammer. And Blake and I started talking his ear off.
I just buy the plastic and yeah.
Arguably have a bigger army than both of us.
Hey, but I'm still far behind on painting wise. I may own a big pile.
And now
of
you can paint
crap.
these minis with love because now you know the backstories.
I actually think I might have more minis than you now.
You might do.
Borderline. I don't know, I have a lot.
I would think mine's perfectly adequate. Thank you. That's what my old girlfriend says.
You guys can't see, but I'm holding up a little pinky.
I mean, that could be something.
I
That,
accidentally brushed your feet and I don't like it now. I don't like it. I want to leave.
Footsies with me now. Oh my god. Anyway.
All right. Get on to Luther.
This
Jesus
is
Christ.
such a cursed way to start.
I know.
this
I
episode.
hate it. I have so much respect for the character too.
Oh, Slanesh.
Shut up. All right. So, what was your vibe of Luther from what I prefaced in the first episode?
I mean, it's kind of hard to not see a character where they, by the sounds of it, they make them up to like a father figure or a brother, and then, I mean, it's Warhammer, and of course they're gonna like stab him in the back.
And
So
be bad dads.
yeah,
It's like a track record in Warhammer.
yeah. So
Like,
I
had a
wouldn't
good
call
dad.
Luther bad dad. I wouldn't call him that. No, I wouldn't put him in the same slot with Biggie or.
didn't he try to kill him? Didn't
Oh
he?
yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't perfect. No,
But
Man, the standards.
right?
This is why you only have fur children.
I mean,
Yes,
you
sure.
kind of can't say that
I'm
like
just trying to stop the competition.
a bad dad is someone that's trying to actively kill you. Like that's
Oh,
that's
okay.
a
Well, then you
pretty
shouldn't belong in the Warhammer universe.
well. I mean, your dad could just like leave, like most do.
Can we continue?
Yeah, went out for milk one time, came back 30 years later, and they still hold it against me.
Yeah, bastards.
Have you seen the meme of the guy coming back finally from the store with milk and his son's like a furry and like dancing on TikTok and he's like, "Oh, I got the wrong milk." He like walks away.
Oh, non-fat. Damn.
He's like, "Ah, I'll be back."
Shit, I forgot cigarettes.
No, I haven't seen it, but you got to send it me.
I'll have to. I'll have to put it in this. It's
Yeah.
great.
All right. So to try and get a sense of the character of Luther, it's important to understand the world of Caliban. So a lot of the information that I'm drawing this from is not just the Horus Heresy books like Fallen Angels, Descent of Angels, and Angels of Caliban, but mainly his book that has just recently come out. It takes place, towards the end, it takes place in current time, 40k time.
Yeah.
And
What creature do they milk on Caliban?
they have normal animals like cows and everything like that.
Okay.
But the problem is that because it's interesting that you bring this up because they have normal animals on this world, but the problem is that because Caliban is being so close to the Eye of Terror, it will mutate animals. So for some reason you'll see along a grasshopper, for some reason it's got 8 legs, or you'll see a deer, and you look at it and you're like, am I seeing double? No, it's got 2 heads. Like there's literally mutations like that will happen. Yeah,
Triple the udders.
so it's like
I was gonna say,
it's literally
does that mean that like the male cows have got like 6 udders? So then you get confused of which is the male,
Male
and
cows
female?
don't have
you're
udders.
Milking... No, but that's his point.
oh right.
Yeah.
Milking the male cows
Yeah,
by
like
accident.
oh shit, that's the male cow.
You don't milk the one with horns.
Has he been eating pineapple?
But like
Sweet.
Oh dear. Anyways,
They say fresh milk is bad for you. It certainly tastes a bit sour.
just it's like that beginning of the Power Rangers movie. It's just like it's okay because I just milked him. You've milked him. Anyways, so yeah,
This is not a Slanesh episode.
Shut up, for fuck's sake! Caliban being a death world is a very dangerous place. Life ends pretty abruptly and can end short. Like, so lifespans, like, so for seeing an old mentor for example, is pretty rare, but it does happen. But like, you take more heed to that person's advice because that person has lived in a place that's trying to kill you for so long. So, like, the idea of being a knight and fighting back against these monsters in these dangerous forests to protect those that you care about was all that consumed Luther growing up. And it was all that would consume most people growing up as well. But the problem is that with most of the knight orders, you can only do that through lineage. You have to be of noble birth or something like that to become a knight. Except for the Order, Alderuk, the largest castle in Caliban. Anybody can become a knight. You just have to prove yourself. Because obviously meritocracy was the best way to make sure that you had a continuous amount of knights and fighters to take back on, but at the same time hold back the mock beasts
I mean,
and make sure you had the best of the best with you.
even in our time, a meritocracy is still the best option.
Exactly. So from a young age, he saw, like, even when he had just became a knight and he was helping out another settlement, he saw his mother and father die in the same night to a great beast that was like a demonic bat hunting in the darkness.
Oh, he's Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man bat.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
This
For Gotham.
This shaped his outlook on the rest of his life. He, from a young age, like, he was inherently charismatic, and like I said, despite the fact there's no central government on Caliban, Alderuk and the Order was the most prominent authority, and he would convince people that hate each other to work together for a common cause, because he had, like, the gift of the gab, essentially. He could talk his way out of anything.
He had the Riz.
Exactly. At the age of 26, he went back and declared himself a Knight of the Order, and was declared so by the Grand Master. Luther first met the Lion, like I said, as they found a dead giant beast with its throat ripped out, and they followed the bloody trail to a savage-looking man with wild blonde hair that resembled a lion with green eyes, almost of Caliban itself. So Luther took him in, named him, and taught him how to be a knight. Luther then helped the crusade happen that Lion wanted to pursue, with the charisma that he had to convince all the other houses to work with him.
And to tell him to stop snarling at his enemies.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like an introvert and an extrovert being mates with each other.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to say it. When they sacked the Knights of Lupus, the ones that didn't want to join the Order and were holding all the animals, holding all the great beasts, Luther crawled out from one of the beasts that had fallen on him, and he saw the lion inspiring the men in the burning of the castle, and they were cheering the lion's name. I personally think that when I read this book, this is when the spark of jealousy really caught fire in him. Because Luther was a great warrior and a great leader who had slain more great beasts than anybody in Caliban's history.
Now there's this
And
young
Luther-
buck that's come in and...
Well, you can't hold a candle to a Primarch.
Exactly.
I mean, but
Luther would have been the greatest man in Caliban's history had he not been born the same time as the lion.
But do they know about Primarchs?
No, they know nothing.
So they don't...
They're
so
still
they,
knights.
So he just sees this new buck that's come into
Yeah.
town, that's
He
slayed all the
sees
beasts.
this guy who's just come in and...
He's bigger than everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, he was on his way to becoming the Grand Master, and then the Lion becomes Supreme Grand Master and like, leads a crusade to get rid of all the beasts, which is, like, arguably what Luther was trying to do.
Yeah.
And
And nobody
he's
was following.
being forced to live in the Lion's shadow. I'm just trying to help you, like, understand
Yeah.
that this guy was a great man and a great leader and would have been a great man in the history of Caliban, but
The Primarch.
overshadowed.
Yeah.
But he got a bit green, got a bit jelly.
A good bit jelly, yeah. Honestly, I don't really blame him. Imagine, like, yeah. So we're gonna get a little bit more because that comes into play. Luther found the Master's Library of the Knights of Lupus, and filled with books he could tell have a great dark aura. This is where a bit of a conflict comes in because I've read two books that say different things. In one of the Descent of Angels book, it said that the Lion ordered the library of the Knights of Lupus to be taken back to Alderrook. But in the Luther book that just came out, it said that the Lion ordered them to be burned. I'm going to go with the new one and say that...
This is probably more current, like what they
It's more
want.
current, but it also informs Luther's character a little bit more
Yeah.
for reasons that I'll explain in a minute. It was at this point that Luther grew close to a new aspirant by the name of Zahariel, like I mentioned in the last episode. And that was when the Emperor turned up.
Zahariel.
Zahariel?
Good old Zahariel.
Yeah. Zahariel was also a knight, but he was still young. He was facing his own problems when a bunch of conservative knights were not happy with the change of coming of the Emperor, and they planned to bomb the Emperor when he came out and met the Lion for the first time. Zahariel stopped this from happening, but then was taken away by Custodes because he was seen to be involved in the bombing, obviously. They interrogated him, but the Emperor told them to let him go. And then
Obviously reading his thoughts and knowing...
Figuring
all
out what
that stuff,
happened, yeah.
Knowing that he
the
didn't,
Emperor
yeah.
thanked him for intervening, but then ordered that his memory be wiped of the events to keep it secret.
Because the Emperor is like that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a dick for no reason.
But this also informs Zahariel's character because he has no memory of this at this point.
Yeah.
Zahariel was made into a full Astartes because he was still young. But the problem was that Luther wasn't.
Yeah.
Luther was like our age, arguably like in his 30s or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, and most aspirants are taken at like 10 to 15 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly.
But when you're 10 to 15, you're an adult. Is that right? Oh, no, you're talking about when they
When to
become,
become a space marine.
Space marine, sorry.
So,
I'm like,
so even though
Primarch.
Zahariel himself was only like 16 or whatever, he was still young enough to be implanted with the gene seed of the
seed,
Lion.
yep.
But the problem was that Luther wasn't. He didn't become a space marine. He was not.
he wasn't given
He
the-
was not Adeptus Astartes.
Ah.
But
But
he
he was still able to keep up.
he was given enhancements and he was given bionics and gene therapy to help him. He was stronger than a normal man,
Yeah.
but he wasn't stronger than Astartes.
Yeah, okay.
And
But I guess his mind was the thing that they wanted. They wanted him, like, his strategic...
he'd proven himself to be a competent leader.
And the Lion liked him. Basically, the Lion
Exactly.
gets to choose what happens in his legion at that
Yeah.
point.
True.
But it also hit him hard that the boys that he led and the squires that he trained were now surpassing him in every single way, and now
Yeah.
taller and stronger than him, and do feats that he could never dream of doing, regardless of the fact that Luther had plenty of merit behind him,
Yeah.
and everybody respected
But he
him.
also had the mind. Like
Yeah.
his strength was
Was his brain?
his
strategy.
brain. So like yeah, he might have these these asteroids like he might have them they're stronger than him physically.
Yeah.
But they won't be as smart as him.
No,
like they
but-
won't have the leadership that he
Exactly.
had.
No, but in other legions anyway, people that have been taken in a similar way to Luther and given those enhancements but not actually made a space marine are known as like faux Astartes
Yeah.
in the legion because they're not actually Astartes.
they don't
They're
have the
kind of
genes
just been
to
like,
even-
yeah.
But they probably don't have the friendship, the leadership.
Prime.
No, but
Yeah.
some of them, especially the ones that were from Terra, would be even older than Luther too,
Oh right.
and
Okay.
have fought with the Emperor. Like so it's not like
That is
he's
yeah.
yeah, it's not like he's way surpassed the wisdom of like everyone else in the Legion.
Oh, yeah, no,
Like,
I just-
imagine being like 30-year-old and being given all these enhancements, but then you're standing next to a 200-year-old demigod that's been fighting longer than you've been
yeah,
alive.
that's been a veteran
Yeah.
for many years.
Oh yeah, no, I just mean like on his planet, like he is like.
But that's the thing. That's core to his thing. Is that imagine going from the best human on your planet to lead your world to being nothing.
yeah.
Being the weakest one on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But besides like the human crew.
Yeah. So, like, regardless of the fact that he
All
had
the
all of
servitors.
these accomplishments behind him, he still had this inner conviction that everyone looked down on him for not being a full Astartes. And that's also where the mentality came into it, the self-doubt.
Yeah.
Could he not have become a full Astartes? Like,
No,
He's too old. You can only,
that's
you
right,
have to
he
grow
was.
into the gene seed.
so he was already past
Anybody
the point.
past 19 can't.
Yeah.
So I suppose they gave him everything that he could have
Yeah, with
at
the
his
enhancements and
point.
everything.
Like they gave him as much as he could, but he was already too old.
Which, to be fair, is no easy feat either.
No,
Making
and
so-
most people don't survive that.
Yeah, most people don't survive it, and it's also expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, after working with the Lion for so long, and then proving himself a competent commander, we get to the events of Sarosh. Now, I deliberately left a lot of these details out of the last episode, not just for time, but because this is important to inform Luther's character. We all remember what happened with the Sarosh leaders. Told the Lion to go F himself, and then the Lion obviously rammed his sword through him. But now we came across that their Sarosh leaders were putting a bomb on the Invincible Reason, and then Luther came across it. But Luther stopped and stared at it and thought, I could just walk away. And no one will know. I could leave and everything I ever wanted would be mine, because I'm second in command. Zahariel came by and discovered the bomb and figured out Luther's hesitancy. And Zahariel tried convincing Luther of all of his accomplishments and saying that, you are a great leader. You are second to a demigod.
Yeah.
You are his friend, and you are a competent commander without him, and you've done so much before he came along. And then Luther turned to him and said, you've got no idea what it is like to be called the greatest man of the age, to have it taken away from you in an instant by someone you called a brother. And that line just stuck with me, because that just made me feel for him. I understand how he feels.
yeah.
But if you love your brother,
Yeah, but that's what happened.
then you should be happy for his accomplishments instead of running
Yeah,
But the problem is
thinking
some
about what you
people-
lost instead of what you gained. Yeah,
Yeah.
The problem is some people are like leaders and some people are followers. And by the sounds of it, there was two leaders,
yeah, exactly.
and he didn't want to become a follower.
Yeah, he didn't want to live in a shadow.
He didn't want to live in the lion's shadow.
Yeah.
So I can see it, but it's also like, well, you also wouldn't have gotten as far. I mean, if the lion
You wouldn't be
didn't-
this strong. You wouldn't have been
Yeah.
the commander of a legion of space marines.
if the lion didn't come through, a gene stealer could have rocked up on your homeland and
yeah,
made a bunch
Exactly.
of gene stealer babies, and then Tyranids come and destroy you, and you would have been a nobody. Whereas,
Exactly.
like, he's now like going to be written in the books as
Yeah.
like second in command to the Primarch, to
yeah,
the like,
Exactly.
And he considered letting the entire ship blow up, so not just the lion, but all
whole
of the
hierarchy
people
of the
he
Dark
trained.
Angels.
Also
yeah.
his
all of
men.
all of
His
the
own
people he
men too.
trained.
Yeah.
People that he worked with, all of the Astartes.
But I'd like to point out as well, this took about 2 pages out of the whole book. So
Yeah.
Sahariel eventually convinced Luther to do the right thing, and then reminded him of his love for his brother. And Luther turned to him. He's like, "You're right. I'm
Yeah.
an idiot. Let's get this out of here." So they were able to eject the bomb into space, barely though, but they just did.
So
And-
who planted the bomb again? Like,
The Sarosh, which was the planet they were trying to.
oh, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
What they were, I didn't mention in the last episode, and I forgot to. What they were doing with the 70 million people, where they were feeding them to chaos monsters, and but after beating Sarosh, the Lion had discovered this, and silently exiled Luther and 500 of his men back to Caliban, under the guise of needing to train more recruits. So, like, no triumph, but no admonishment either.
But also just a terrible idea when like
Oh,
somebody has considered like letting other people kill you
Yeah.
to take your position. You're like, go back to the home world and just like look after that for me.
As opposed to stay by my side and prove yourself. For your
Yeah,
mistakes.
keep your enemies closer.
Yeah. So why 500 of his men? Like, why did?
Because that's all the veterans he could spare for the fight.
Oh,
Because he wanted to send back veterans to train the new lots, so that way
Oh,
could help
okay,
the
so it
training.
was
But
part
also
of-
because I think they were his inner circle.
Yeah.
They were his men.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say. Were they like
So-
more aligned to?
Luther.
Because
Luther
Luther,
then.
Zahariel, and 500 of his men were sent back.
Mm.
Like, and that's why I wanted to have an episode about Luther, just because I find his character so interesting, and it
does seem-
because it gets even more interesting. But yes, so Luther was sent back to Caliban, and he took out a handful of the books that he refused to burn, that the Lion told him to.
The glowing books that I
Yeah.
think we all know where this is going.
Slowly read them all, and
Yeah.
word for word, in a petulant act of defiance against the Lion for what he did. So so the fact that he's even self-aware that it's petulant isn't
Yeah.
something funny.
It's just like, screw you, I'm gonna read these damned tomes.
Yeah, but he even
Literally
stopped.
damned tomes.
Exactly, literally. Because
Yeah.
guess what he opened? He opened the first page he opened, and the page looked like a great beast, a horned monster, but it was holding a sword and a whip.
Yep.
What does that sound like to you, Corbin?
It's a berserker.
Yeah, it sounds like a corn berserker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this time, before Horus was War Master, Luther answered a call to help Horus deal with something in a nearby system and help take it over. The Lion stormed in and asked, "Why are you celebrating insubordination?" Just like, was I not clear in my instructions for you to reside on Caliban? I need to know where my right hand is at all times, not taking up arms at the behest of another. I'm stripping you of all my ships, of all the ships that you have except for one, and you will return back to Caliban.
Yeah.
Mind you, this is in front of Horus
Yeah.
and about all the other legions that were represented to help that,
Yeah.
including Typhon and Erebus.
True.
This is what I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Typhus and Erebus and Luther, the 3 biggest traitors of all time, in one room together.
Yeah.
So, at that moment, Luther and his men returned back, which were on their way back to returning to their ships. Typhon and Erebus had been unable to establish a brotherhood of any kind into the Dark Angels. Because their bonds of brotherhood were so close because of their knightly orders, they couldn't get purchased with the warrior lodges and sow those seeds of corruption. But this presented an opportunity. They realized that they couldn't turn them to chaos, but maybe just get them enough away from the Lion.
Yeah. Just to create a divide in their army.
Yeah. So he was then on his way, as Luther was going back to his ship, he was stopped by Erebus and Typhon and offered a drink. And then Erebus put on the table a book that looked very similar.
Yeah.
Similar to the one that he found in the Lupus court.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, that book looks familiar. Erebus gives it to him. And the funny thing is that, word for word, you think after that incident, you think I'm weak enough to approach you, but as he's still sliding the book closer to him, how dare you think I am this? How dare, and I'm taking it. It was so.
I mean, if you're not going to read
was
it,
so
I'll
funny.
read it.
Yeah, and he's just like, and then Erebus is just like, I'm just here to have a drink with someone who thought they needed it. He took the books back to Caliban after being admonished by the lion in front of everybody,
Yeah.
further humiliated.
It's interesting because Erebus and Typhus, or Typhon probably at that stage
then,
still, are both pretty charismatic characters themselves.
Yeah, they
And
read
it was
like that in the books. Yeah.
It was like a gathering
Of the most charismatic people.
Yeah, first captains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, and they're all the traders. Fuck, James.
So he took the books back to Caliban and read for days, drinking in their knowledge. He eventually tried, accidentally, a summoning ritual. And
How do
accidentally...
you accidentally do that?
Oh, he...
You follow
he
a
did-
recipe then. It's
Yeah.
like,
He
oh,
followed
this
the
isn't
recipe.
baking cookies.
No, he literally did. He literally followed the recipe and then accidentally summoned a little fire demon. But in his amazement, he didn't complete the last stanza, which was the paragraph that completed the bonding aspect.
Yeah, so
And
it
then-
just ran wild.
Yeah, the demon was like smiling. He's just like, too late.
Yeah.
But the demon walked out of the barrier circle and didn't attack him and said, "We've been waiting for you a while." And then just disappeared.
Great plans. The Chaos Gods have great plans.
Yeah.
Who would have thought of that plan? Who's that? Is that a Slanesh thing or
Tzeentch.
Tzeentch?
Tzeentch is the planner.
Yeah. Well, there's also just normal warp deities.
Yeah, there are. And they're all a bit conniving and they all see the future and stuff at
Yeah.
different rates and things.
And they all
Okay.
talk in riddles and talk
I
in
can't
words.
see that being like
It's not a corn thing.
no, but
No,
even
talking's
like
not a common thing in general.
No.
what is his name?
Nurgle.
Nurgle. Like yeah, like I was thinking
Fire
like this,
demons
but it's
are-
not.
As far as I'm aware,
Yeah.
from what I've read, I haven't read everything, but from what I've read, he didn't appear to be aware of the Chaos Gods. He just was aware of chaos, the energies.
Yeah.
I suppose if he's that close to the Eye of Terror,
Yeah,
he would have to know some.
That's yeah, you're onto something there, but we'll get to that in a second. So, because of Luther's exile to Caliban, he did everything he could to prove his worth to the Lion. In that time, he and Zahariel created thousands of new Marines in record time, breaking down the usual recruitment of Marines from 8 years to 2.
So, and this is probably like already
This is
been
before
explained. Yeah, so this is before they were allowed like so many.
Yes.
You're only
this is
allowed a
Horus
1,000.
Heresy.
Yeah.
You could have any number you want.
Yeah.
It's only in 40k times, and
But
after
you can only
Horus
have
Heresy,
1,000.
where they were split into chapters.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, at this point, you could have thousands and thousands of Dark Angels.
Yep.
But there were different, like, companies and different chapters and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, they would have hundreds of companies.
Because they still had chapter masters, like Chapter
Yeah.
Master Astalan. But yes, so, and in their past recruitment cycles, they had no deaths. No deaths when making a Space Marine? Wow. That was amazing
It
to
means you're
them.
doing something wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean no deaths in the implementation, not the trials.
I know.
Okay, fair enough.
It means they're doing something wrong. Does it not mean that they're doing something? They're doing something wrong if that's
No, it's got nothing to do with it.
I've got a little touch of something going on there.
They said that they were almost on par with the production levels of Macragge. Despite,
Damn.
yeah, because of not
McCraig is
broad depth and numbers,
Gilliman's.
Gilliman. Yeah.
and had 500 worlds, whereas they had one. Because like it was about the level of
Wow.
output, not the level of width. So yeah,
That's a lot. Like when
That's
you
a-
think
yeah.
of like one
because
planet making
Luther
the same
wanted
amount.
to prove himself
That
so
he was-
bad,
yeah.
and he and Zahariel, and it goes through Zahariel's point of view quite a lot in these books. But Zahariel like made a message directly to the Lion, telling them what we've done, da 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 da, and then had an addendum part of the message, and he's just like, even if you just bring one of us back into the fight with you, please let it be Luther. Like him and his 500 men loved Luther.
Zahariel is honestly like one of the goodest boys.
He genuinely
yeah.
is, and it gets better for him. Like, well, not get better, but like, I like Zahariel a lot.
He's a great
He's
character.
arguably one of my favorite. But
Yeah.
do you know what his real identity is?
No. Oh, actually, no. I think I do.
Say it.
No. You keep going.
Okay, good. And then let me know if you're right.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not. But yeah, and like 50 years later, nothing happened. Like, nothing from the Lion. They planned 2 trips to come back to Caliban, but it was cancelled due to direct orders from the Emperor that he needed help elsewhere.
Master.
No, it was from the Emperor.
Oh, was it? Oh, this
Yeah,
is
the
before
Emperor said,
War
no,
Master.
we need you over here, we need you for this.
Okay.
And the 500 Marines and Luther began to feel disheartened and abandoned. These Marines stopped saying, for the Lion, and started saying, for Luther. So, because imagine yourself being commanded by somebody in the trenches, by a commander that's like 20 miles away somewhere else, but the guy that you're getting orders from is in the trenches with you.
Yeah,
Who do you care more about?
Yeah.
It's totally... Oh. And the way they describe their love for Luther, not their love, but like their respect for him.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's in the trenches with them.
Exactly.
Like, so of course they would love him. Like, he's
I'd like to
not
point out, yeah.
abandoned
Yeah.
them. Like, he's like he's there with them. He's
Yeah.
like training with them. He's fighting with them. So
And these Marines are also not dumb. They're aware that something happened, but they don't know exactly. Only Zahariel and Luther know.
And in 50 years, most of them wouldn't have even have met the Lion.
Exactly.
I suppose because they've been
All the new
trainees.
recruits, yeah.
Because they all started at 10, 15 years old.
Well, the 500 Marines that came back with them did, the veterans.
yeah,
but
but
the new recruits didn't. They
Wouldn't
never
have.
met them.
No, yeah.
No. And this is what you were talking about in the last episode, where you were saying, well, what's it like for a world to become part of the Imperium?
Yeah.
The forests of Caliban were dwindling, being destroyed by Admech to make way for new habitation blocks, new industries, and the only one they had to turn to was Luther in all of this. He was the Lord of the world, but there was also a Terran ambassador and governor that was making all the shots and all
And
that
the
kind of shit.
Admech only listened to the on the side.
There was a lot of prejudice happening between the Calibanite people and the new Terrans that came, as the Terrans were given preferential treatment, given higher levels on the hab blocks, while the natives, as they called them, were put down to the lower levels without water, electricity, or food.
Typical Imperium.
Yeah, that's very.
I would like to
like-
point out it's common, but it's not always like, some planets actually do get better with the Imperium coming along. But then again, they probably weren't good enough to begin with.
They were probably pretty
Yeah,
terrible.
pretty
stuff.
terrible to begin with. Yeah, but like this also does happen if you don't have a competent ruler or governor. on
That's like
planet.
saying, oh, Nostromo got better. No, if it had been properly colonized.
Oh, if it had
by
been probably, yeah.
Imperium.
If the Imperium actually stood in,
Yeah.
instead of being bought off
The only one
by
that
the
didn't
gangs.
change or one of the few that I know that didn't change was Fenris.
Fenris, Nostromo, and I would say Inuit.
Yeah, I don't know if
Gotham.
Yeah.
Vulcan,
Where's
did Vulcan's planet actually get? It didn't get, which is what's
It didn't get overhauled, but it did have Terran influence because
Yeah.
they made habitable areas for
Yeah.
others. Anyways, so yeah. Riots started out and rebellion began, consisting of former Knight Orders and Knights that were too old for the surgeries that were left to the wayside. To make matters worse, there were Terran scientists, but were actually Chaos sorcerers, sacrificing thousands of people to try and stir the Chaos energies in Caliban, summoning a horrible monster that was leeching bodies and turning them into zombies. Not Nurgle related, but it was like, it's a whole other thing, a whole other sub-story, but it was like the spirit of Caliban, and it was like summoning monsters.
How is it not Nurgle related? Because that's very Nurgle.
That's
Because
Yeah,
I thought it
true.
would be Nurgle related, but it's not. It's not like rot or disease related. It's more or less like
Undeath is
I
Nurgle's
I know
thing.
I know it's his thing, but
Yeah.
like out of all I was reading, I just didn't get that vibe.
Okay.
It just didn't. It sounded more just warp fuckery as opposed to anything else.
Yeah,
Because I would admit if it was Nurgle, because that'd be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. But yes, this also caused another problem with Luther because he didn't want to say anything to the Terran ambassadors or admit there was a problem, because Luther knows they have destroyed worlds for less if there was any sense of chaos corruption. So he's like, I don't want my world to burn.
Well, he's watched the Lion do it to other planets.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So everything came to a head when Zahariel, Lord Cypher, as I was telling you about the individual that like leads the next generation and gives up everything to have that title, and the rebel leaders found Luther in his library, covered in strange symbols. Zahariel's memory blocks gave way, and Zahariel remembered everything that the Emperor and his own psycho mentor, Israphael, screwed with his mind and didn't trust him to have that knowledge. Zahariel's mentor, Israphael, threw psychic fire at everyone, but it bounced off Luther and it was absorbed by the symbols on his body. They eventually imprisoned him and all of the Terrans.
This is after the Edict of Nicaea
This is
too.
after Edict of Nicaea.
Yeah.
Zahariel died trying to send that monster back to the warp that the Chaos Sorcerers had put away, but Luther used some of the knowledge from the book to bring back Zahariel, and he awoke. Guess how many months later?
6 months later.
8.
8 months later.
8 for the 8-pointed
Yes.
star.
Yeah.
Interesting number.
And for Khorne.
Yeah. Oh no, 8 is a corn, yeah, right. But 8 for the 8-pointed star because Chaos.
Yeah, true.
He awoke to Luther having taken control of Caliban. They heard about Horus's uprising, and he said, now it's time to declare ourselves independent and time to understand the secrets the Emperor has kept from us. So yeah, that's...
He's well into the ruinous powers.
Yeah, so like everyone's declaring themselves independent or traitor or whatever. We're just going to slip by. We're just going to do it anyways. Who cares? In the middle of the heresy, he was fighting insurrection left, right, and center because people were like, loyalists. Some people were not. Some people were just fighting for themselves. And he even
Fighting for the sake of fighting.
Yeah, and Luther even slayed a fellow Marine that came back from the Lion to get reinforcements.
Blood for the Blood God.
And named Zahariel the new Lord Cypher.
Yes, that's what I thought he
You thought it
was.
was
Yeah,
Cypher,
I thought
yeah.
he was Cypher.
Yeah. Luther took out...
I didn't realize he was resurrected, though.
He was resurrected.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died trying to stop the monster. But yeah, Luther couldn't... Luther trusted Zahariel more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Luther took over a nearby port system because the Lion reprimanded him and stripped him of all of his ships for helping Horus. Typhus turned up with Corswain right behind him. So Corswain, being the new second in command to the Lion, was right behind him as chasing Typhus and the Death Guard. And was given this impossible option of like, do I kill Typhus? But he's also, he's trusted me with stuff before. Or do I kill Corswain and then immediately declare ourselves against the Emperor, but the fact we're not ready yet for that.
Yeah.
He's like, this is why Luther is a Chad, because he does this twice, and I'll explain why. He's like, given this horrible situation, and you know what he says? Screw it. I'm not doing either.
Yeah.
So instead, he devised a plan where he wouldn't have to side with either of them, and the Civil War meant nothing to him. He's like, I don't care about this Horus heresy. All I care about is Caliban. And so he convinced Typhus to hide his ships on the edge of the system with power down, and destroyed one of their cruisers to make it look like there was a battle. Corswain dropped from the warp and was like, what are you doing here? And he was confronted with the man who had taken his position.
Yeah.
And Typhus had given Luther an Anathane blade. The blade that can kill anybody.
Yeah.
And Typhus said, if you kill Corswain, then you will signal to our powers that you are ready to become powerful and trusted as a champion.
Corswain's also a bit of a dick.
Yeah, Corswain's a huge dick, but
Yeah.
but brilliant fighter and strategist, someone you don't want to mess with.
No, yeah.
But a dick.
But a dick.
Yeah.
Like quite a few of the captains of the Death Guard. Dark
Yeah, Death
Angels.
Guard. Oh, both of them, I would
Both,
say, yeah. But then, again, there's a moment where he's in a room with Corswain, explaining himself, and he's like, there's like so many times I could kill you right now, but I also don't want to be put in this position again. I will choose my own path. So he says, fob off to both of them. And yeah, when the Lion returned to Luther, opened fire. Luther is now at this point swelling with power and is a match for the Lion. Yeah, he was. Corswain fought against Zahariel. We don't know what happened. We know. This is the problem, is that we know Cypher's alive, but we don't know if it's Zahariel. I hope it's Zahariel.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Like, as far as we know, we can only assume that it is. But like, again, Cypher is a title that's given to somebody.
To someone, yeah.
But all we know, again, is that the planet cracked, the Lion was sent into the warp, but so were Luther's followers. All the Marines that had turned to his side were sucked into the warp. Luther was captured. The Watchers and the Chapter Master of the Dark Angels, because now they've been separated into chapters, they were the only ones that knew Luther was alive, and the code name they gave Luther was the Dark Oracle. Because he, fucking with Chaos, now has all these premonitions about events that he shouldn't have knowledge of.
Yeah.
Being trapped in this stasis chamber. He would see the Age of Apostasy. He saw the War of the Beast with the Orcs, and he saw all the deaths of the Chapter Masters that were interrogating him. Because the only way you could get into that stasis chamber is with the Sword of Secrets that Azrael has.
Yeah.
That's passed from Chapter Master to Chapter Master. They would interrogate him if he knew anything about where the Fallen were. And he's like, what are the Fallen? He's like, they're your followers. That is what they have been named.
Yeah.
like fallen angels.
Because,
Or the Dark Angel's like, help, I'm fallen. What?
yeah, because like it's like, oh, there's a joke that the Alpha Legion are actually loyalists, and some of the Dark Angels are actually
traitors.
Yeah.
So like the fall, it could be either or.
Yeah, just like the loyalist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the whole joke about like half the Legion being traitor and half the Legion being but loyalist, but that's where the meme comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Fallen still wear the blackened armor of the Dark Angels,
Oh, yep.
but the problem is that because they all sucked up by the warp, they're all being spewed out at different times and different places in the galaxy.
So there could be like 100 of them.
Or there could be 10,000, because as far as he knew, there was.
Thousands being trained up on the world.
I can't remember the number. I'm very sorry. It's either 10,000 or 100,000.
Yeah, it's a huge number. Probably
Yeah,
100,000.
I wouldn't be shocked with Horus Heresy numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they would interrogate him if he knew anything. He's like, I'm stuck in here. How would I know anything? And then he started to have premonitions.
Yeah.
But yeah, these Fallen are Chaos aligned. They're technically traitor, but like the Night Lords, they're technically Chaos, but they're technically traitor aligned. Most of them would become Fallen, but then there are other times where these Fallen would become pirates, or warlords, or king of their new worlds, until the Dark Angels came and found them.
Because the Dark Angels now make it their whole thing to find all the Fallen,
Yeah.
eradicate the Fallen, and don't let other people know that half of their Legion fell to the Chaos.
Yeah.
They don't want anybody knowing that secret, and they consider themselves, they call themselves and all of their other successor chapters the Unforgiven, because of what they allowed to happen. Allowed half their Legion to betray the Emperor and the Lion, and they consider it that the Lion will never come back until they find all the Fallen. So that's why they're even more hell-bent on trying to find them.
Which isn't true, but...
It's not true, obviously.
Yeah, but that's
it's
what they
it's
think.
the same reason why the Vulcan followers think that if they gain all the artifacts of Vulcan, the Vulcan will come back, but he won't.
No.
Yeah,
It's on GW's clock, not on theirs.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not. Yeah, you're not wrong.
GW's clock goes for a long time.
So the problem was, exactly. The problem is that Luther was put in a stasis chamber in the rock, and the Watchers in the Dark were looking after him. Every time the Chapter Masters opened it up, he came out of stasis. For example, 3,000 years had passed outside. It was only 40 days to Luther.
Yeah.
And him being put in this stasis made the premonitions worse. And he wanted so badly to tell the Lion he was sorry. He wanted to explain to the Lion why he felt this way and why he did what he did, and he just wanted his forgiveness. And he would tell the Chapter Masters, I'm not here to give you my forgiveness or my apologies, because the only person is the Lion. And he didn't know that he was in the rock, but to be honest, the Chapter Masters didn't know he was in the rock either.
No.
Over the 10,000 year period, he was interrogated by every Chapter Master of the Dark Angels. Some were kind and simply wanted to talk to him and understand his point of view. Others were not, obviously,
No.
and tortured the fuck out of him and wanted to know more. One day, he would hear battles ringing from above the floors above and saw the door open. And he just kept walking, one step at a time. We now have no idea where Luther is. No one knows where he is. No one knows who let him out. Nobody knows where he is, and nobody knows who he's with.
So he didn't come out with when...
Vashtor attacked the rock.
Oh, okay.
Because Vashtor was after an artifact.
Yeah.
And this was the time that Luther left. But this is also around the same time the Lion came back.
Yeah.
So we can thank Vashtor.
Yes. And, I mean, it's probably in the Arcs of Omen book, but
Oh, yeah, probably.
headcanon first guess, Cypher.
I don't know.
I know,
Because the
yeah.
thing is that the Watchers in the Dark were the ones that kept him in the cell.
Yeah.
Who could get past the Watchers? Unless it was the Watchers that set him out, let him loose, just deciding that it was time for him to be out there.
True. Or a greater chaos power.
Greater Chaos Power.
Yeah.
Could be the Lion himself, for all we know.
Yeah.
Ordering the Watchers, because the Watchers do listen to the Lion.
He's all forgiving now.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that he wants, like... Yeah, we'll get to
We'll
that.
get
We'll
into
do
that
the
in
40K
40K,
episode.
yeah.
But,
fine,
like, yeah, Luther's now somewhere.
Yep, so Cypher.
Cypher and the Fallen are
So
out there
they're
somewhere.
in the warp. Or they could be anywhere.
Could be anywhere, we don't know. That's literally the last line of the book, is that he walked towards the door that was open, and that's it.
Yep. They love leaving a little bit of like mystery around with the Dark Angels.
Oh, it's like D&D. They love leaving little plot hooks for everybody to follow if they wanted it.
I was gonna say, what is it like? It's cliffhangers.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's fine because it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's when they do cliffhangers and then they don't do anything.
No, they do some stuff with cliffhangers, but they just also pay attention to what the audience wants more. Or if they want to resolve something. Like, for example, why Trizon has a goddamn clone of Fulgrim. Are they ever going to bring that back? Probably not.
They don't have to, it's just interesting.
Yeah, I know. So that's the thing is that, like,
Yeah.
you know, people have been memeing about it. They're just like, oh, people want this. Maybe we will.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Cool.
But yeah, that's essentially it for Luther's story on his end of things, barring some other little details that I've had to take out from the book. But I definitely, if you want to know more about Luther, read his book Lord of the Fallen. It's a genuinely more interesting look at how Caliban operates, and then Luther's understanding of why he went this route.
Yeah.
But if like imagine yourself being the greatest man of your age, and you seeing your world and your people being subjugated by new people. Coming in and destroying your homeworld and destroying any part of your culture.
Yeah.
It does make sense as to why he did become a traitor, but in saying that, it also doesn't make sense as like they were brothers, like.
Or it makes all the more sense in the world.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm a little bit on James with this. I'm like, I think.
No,
that's a
I agree.
personality flaw.
It's one of those things where I don't condone it and I don't condemn it, but I understand.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Well, that's been our Luther episode. Anything else you need to add? Or
No, I'm good, thank you. No,
So much for being our
we'll be
short
finishing up
video.
the
we'll
episode.
be finishing up the episode, and thank you all for listening.
Next episode will be on the
Like-
Dark Angels, with a little bit more on a broad stroke, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, like and subscribe. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Cuckoo.
For the glory of chaos!